Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be travelling to Dubai on Thursday to participate in the World Climate Action Summit. Prime Minister Modi, in COP26 in Glasgow, had announced 5 targets titled Panchamrit. Climate change was also an important area of India's presidency of G20. Prime Minister will also hold bilateral meetings in Dubai. But before I go to my subject matter expert, let me take you through some of the important points. Why this is important, how it affects us. It's not a local thing, it's not a regional thing, it's purely global. It affects everyone. So Prime Minister Modi to attend COP28 summit, that's one, that's an important part. Leadership role for India at COP28, because India had been demonstrating its commitment when it comes to clean technologies, reorganizing its own industry. Modi's visit cements India's key player status. India is not a sort of a third world player there. India is talking about larger goals for other countries. Agreement on reduction of coal power in G20, that was done. Then India plans net zero emission by 2070. At least there is a commitment. In fact, you would be surprised to know that India has transformed its energy sector. The commitment it has made in context of the renewables is amazing. Then India targets 50% renewable energy by 2030. It's an important development. Then, what is COP28? It's just sort of a meeting point for important people. It's important because we are talking about climate change. It affects every one of us. The fires in Bolivia, to Australian bushfires, to the poles melting, to the biggest iceberg moving out from Antarctica, which is like the size of Manhattan, New York, is something everyone should be worried about. Dubai is also hosting the event from 30th of November to 12th of December. But the Prime Minister is going to be on 30th and 1st Conference of Parties who signed an agreement in 1992. So it's a lot of things that lagging. The world is not serious about this, but at least the poor countries know what is the cost of climate change. 200 countries said to attend, but I'm being told that Xi Jinping and other people might not, because ultimately climate change, it's very tough to get people on board. Charities, environmental groups, think tanks and faith groups to attend. Let's go forward. Goals. Countries aim to agree on a climate framework. Main goal is to reduce use of fossil fuel. Limited global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2100. And onus on the developed world to cut emissions. These are the goals of COP28. Triple renewable energy capacity by 2030. Setting up a damage fund for most at-risk nations. This is all part of the Charter, financing energy transition in developing states. This is how it was conceived. This is how it was thought of. The biggest greenhouse gas emitters, these are the key players, and I think both of them might be absent because, one has election to run and another has got economy to take care of. Beijing wants rich countries to pledge $100 billion, which is not happening. China reluctant to phase out coal because its economy, its real estate is a big problem. Numbers of growth are inflated and Xi Jinping unlikely to attend COP28. So imagine people who are polluting the planet are not going to be there. And then let me come to UAE. UAE is among top 10 oil producers worldwide. And there are reports in Economist and Guardian and other newspapers that they are also using it as a platform to further their own economic agenda, but that's a different debate. That's a different debate. CEO of oil company Al Jawa is the president of the COP28. Reports UAE wants to use platform to strike oil deals. These are the reports which have been published in newspapers. Saudi Arabia wants to raise Africa's demand for oil. They have also put it on paper. US production of oil and gas highest ever in 23. So imagine the level of commitment which has been demonstrated, and US unlikely to agree to climate reparations for historical emissions. And UK delaying green commitment by not banning petrol and diesel cars. Germany has taken initiative, but UK has not done that. Only one of 20 sponsors has signed up for zero net targets. That's the commitment level. That's the commitment level. And I'm very happy to say that I'm joined by Ambassador Anil Trigunayat. Very warm welcome to you, sir. This was a brief. I thought,
Thank
I'll
you.
put it up for my Viewers, do you think that it is possible to push the agenda of Global South in Dubai when the Prime Minister is going to be there on Thursday?
Well, Kartikeya, you have very correctly pointed out through various slides that you showed, and which also tends to see the kind of hiatus that we have between the commitments, oral commitments or written commitments, and their actual implementation. And that is unfortunately the plight of the climate change, despite the fact that we are really sitting um, uh, on killing ourselves, frankly. I mean, that's to say that. So I think that Prime Minister Modi has very clearly mentioned, and as you know, that not only that India is undertaking all that it can to meet the net zero expectations, not only by 2070, but is also trying to even somehow advance it through much greater use of renewable energy and all. But at the same time, it is not India is not only looking for itself. India is also trying to, or has been trying to work for fixing the historical responsibility as far as the developmental paradigm is concerned. The countries that are emitting the most or have emitted the most for achieving their developmental goals must be accountable, must be able to provide for it. This was agreed in 2009 at COP15 that there will be $100 billion annually, which will be given. But until now, that is something that has been elusive. So I think that this is what India is trying to say, and under its G20 presidency, and Prime Minister Modi has come up with several initiatives on that score. You spoke about Panchamrit, which he said in Glasgow. Secondly, India's commitment to 2070 net zero emissions, and also lifestyle for environment, life, which has been accepted in the G20 as the mode whereby we can go together. So decarbonization of the industries, be it the oil, be the others, is also very important while going through transformation of the energy transition sectors itself in India. But all that can only be done when there are adequate finances available. So that whatever the India's climate diplomacy in this sense going to be, it is going to be not only for India, but for the global South that is being affected the most, but at the same time doesn't have means to implement all those. So therefore, this is what India will try to do at this COP28, where Prime Minister is going. We have always believed in this something called differentiated, common and differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. You know, each country must be able to provide this whatever it can. At the same time, it needs to be assisted, whether it is by way of green finance or by way of green technologies, by way of helping them with the carbon budgets, carbon marketing mechanisms. Nowadays, the vocabulary of these is becoming far too intrusive and far too difficult to understand, especially for many countries. They do understand. Countries like India, always people feel close to the nature. So for us, we live with nature, we worship nature, we have a very different kind of an attitude. But in the West, there is a much greater exploitation, and now they want to stop it and I mean, in a way, create some kind of a climate apartheid, so to say, or a green apartheid, as I
Ambassador,
said. So
you
this
know,
is something that we needs to be looked at, and I guess that the COP28 has several elements, and UAE is our very close strategic partner, and that also shows that not only the Prime Minister Modi has just uh, is finishing tomorrow, day after the presidency of the G20, which was highly successful, in which very specific issues were brought out, recommendations were there. But as you know, the G20 are the recommendations mostly. So COP28, there's the recommendations which have been there. So that's why they are having some kind of something called global stock taking, GST. So that is the first one which will be held there, where it will be evaluation of what has been done, what has been achieved, what needs to be done, and how it needs to be done. So, but all that, I think it is very important for the countries to really come together, and then only they can do it.